Hello everyone, thank you for stopping in for another Minecraft video. First of all, thank you so much for all the views, likes, and all the good comments and questions from our last video. Really overwhelmed with the responses and the number of people that watched, so thank you very much for that. What I wanted to do this video was go through and answer some of the questions I got last time. Some was about how I go through this process, building these maps and everything. And the other question that came up was about biome scale and whether or not it mattered. I assumed it did, but I wanted to really dig into it more and find out. My initial thought would be it would just change, that more of this would be forest or taiga or something else. It actually has a much bigger effect than that. So what I decided to do was go and start with a new completely random seed, and I went right to a large map, so I didn't go from small to medium to large like I did last time. And I did the same seed in a large map in all three biome scales. So yes, I actually went through and uncovered 75 individual maps. This is the mostly complete version of the large biome scale. And I first wanted to go through and show what I do to finish some of this up, so I left some of these undiscovered. And so I'm going to hop over to one of those empty maps and explain sort of the process that I go through to uncover these. And then I'll come back here, build the rest of the map, and then go through some more detail on what I learned about the maps as far as structure placement and everything else. Now I did keep the structure points that I mapped to mansions, villages, the monuments instead of the big ones. I did not go through and look for every single shipwreck and ruin because that would have taken forever. So let's get to it. I'll hop over to one of these blank sections, go through that, and then come back and build the rest of the map. So here I am next to an undiscovered part of the map. So as you can see, I'm at the bottom right corner of the map in my hand. And when I get to a new place, I simply fly over to the new area, switch over, grab an empty map, get that one started, and then I simply move that one into this hand so it's nice and small. And I try to place these in here. So I know this is C3 where I started. This is the map I went over to, so I try to keep them in my inventory here in the position they will be on the map. That way, when they're just numbered 21, 22 like this, I know where I'm going. And I keep a bottle of night vision potion handy for when it gets really dark like now, or it still does help you see underwater, although it's not as good as it used to be. And then I simply, in super speed, fly over the map. Now that is a map I already have uncovered, so I already knew that was there. And then I just fly over the entire map, looking for structures. And this video is one of those where I only did big structures, villages, mansions, monuments, things like that. So I'm not dissecting all the little ins and outs of every single spot of water looking for shipwrecks and ruins, etc. And I already have that one too. That is a map below. So I basically just hover like this and zoom over the entire map. And I stay high enough where I can see things, below enough where I can spot them. And as you did see, there was a village off to the left here. So what I do with villages, I find usually the well, but this one doesn't really, well, I guess it counts because it's a building, but there's only going to be one villager, so you could never make this village grow because there's only one guy here. So I have to find a way to transport another villager here for this to actually work. But again, so I hover over here, get my coordinates from the map, and enter them onto my handy spreadsheet. And so this is basically what I do then for hours on end to uncover all these maps. So I'll just finish this one and then head back to home base where I will go through filling out my map. So I thought it was worth mentioning as I went through here, I do overlap enough where I catch everything. If you're watching my map revealed down there, you'll see that there's plenty of room on my left side to still see everything. But it's important so I don't have to go back and uncover certain areas that I've missed behind. But it's more important over water, especially if I'm searching for shipwrecks and ruins and everything, that I overlap even more, because they can be really hard to spot unless you're almost directly overhead. So a map like this where it's all land, I'm not as careful, and I don't overlap quite as much from row to row. But again, over water, if you're searching for shipwrecks like the last video I did, it is important to overlap a lot, otherwise you will miss something. So I'm going to continue this one, and then there are 2 more after this that I will do, and then head back home and go through my last process where I named the maps and put them onto my big, larger map. One last interruption before I make it back home. Other things I do sometimes track are what I call points of interest. That tree hill in the last video and some of those other areas that I thought are fun, are interesting, that aren't necessarily a structure to explore or build through or anything, but just a cool landmass or something like that. And here's one of those. And it's also fun. This one looks like Beggar's Canyon for those who like Star Wars. And sometimes I fly through stuff like this just for fun as I'm exploring, because it can get kind of tedious. Or I make helicopter sounds in my head, make it sound like I'm on some sort of exploration, navigating through a wilderness. But I do like to have fun with it as well. Sometimes I will distract myself and try to find caves to fly through and stuff like that. So anyway, just something to keep it interesting, because like I said, this can get kind of tedious and boring. And I don't always go directly through the entire map, just up and down. If I find something like this, I'll just kind of fly around, exploring it, just as long as I eventually get to all the map. So that was it. So here I am back home with these last 4 maps that I just did, and then when I get back, I take them over to my anvil, and then I will start to rename this one. So this one, because it's the top one of number 4, will become D1. This one will become E1. Oh, that's not what I wanted. E1. And what did I do with this one? And this will become E2. Then I hop over to my map, and I see I have my item frames. Let's get these lined up. D1, E1, D2, E2, and there we have my map. And then to always know where I am, just pop these into my double chest so I can fit all of them. And C3 is in my hand because that's where I am. So that's some more of the process I go through when creating maps. And then next I'm going to hop over to explaining what it was I discovered while going through the same map 3 different times, just with a difference in biome scale. Well, this is the 3rd one, so this was a large biome scale. And then I'm going to next get all these maps copied, get the scatter charts created, and then just go through what I learned about how things change as you change biome scale, with everything else being the same. So here we have the plots and the map for the small biome scale, and I decided to include the counts of the different structures over there. So you can see 22 villages, 30 monuments, a decent distribution. They're pretty well spread out. The jungle temple is a little hard to spot, so I put a black circle around it. Not quite sure if I can come up with a better way to identify those on these maps, but if anyone has any ideas, let me know how to make these bigger. I could just make them bigger, and possibly that would be easier to see. But the small map has a decent distribution, pretty good spread of all the different biome types. We go to the medium, which generally I have preferred medium over small, because you do get much more consistent looking. I think 10 of the small, you kind of jump around a much. It probably makes it harder for some types of structures to spawn. Same thing here, although there were only 2 jungle temples, but I did circle them in black to make them easier to see. And it's just, you know, a basically good overall map. I wouldn't personally play any of these, but I was more interested in the change in the biome scale. And you can see it does change significantly. So the 2 maps between small and medium even looked really nothing alike. And then finally jumping to the large, which is an even more completely different. As you can see, the same seed, 3 completely different maps. The large one, there were whole maps that was all taiga, which isn't really good because nothing spawns there. It also was an entire map that was all snow. What was interesting about this is how little water there was. I generally don't care much for water, so that would suit me fine. And this only had 7 ocean monuments, and there were 6 of them are down in that bottom corner where the whole bottom left map was all ocean. So basically, you really just have to find your preference. If you get lucky in one way and have a large map, it could be 80% water for all I know. So there's really no rhyme or reason to the difference between them, but that does have a huge impact. So basically the answer to the question is size does matter when it comes to biome scales. I will, again, put this document online to download. I did also include all of the plotted points along with the pictures and the counts of all of these. I am looking into finding another place to store documents to download. I just haven't had time to do so, so please bear with me. Any questions or comments about this, please let me know. I try to reply to everything as soon as I see it. And again, otherwise, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching. Please continue to comment, send some more likes. We're working on some more videos, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.